If you want to know how big this fight really is, just look at who's arguing about it. You've got Floyd Mayweather on one side, Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith on the other, all three talking about the same matchup, Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez, and they can't even agree on who's better, who's more exciting, or who really deserves to be called the man at the lighter weights. When a fight has legends and top analysts this split, that's when you know it's not just another date on the calendar, it's a crossroads. Floyd has been crystal clear about where he stands. In his mind, there's a group of elite guys between 130 and 140 pounds, but when you're strictly talking about pure skill at 135, he says it flat out, Shakur Stevenson is the one. In Floyd's eyes, Gervonta "Tank" Davis is the biggest puncher in that weight range, but Shakur is the most complete boxer. High-level defense, control of distance, sharp counters, discipline, all the things Mayweather himself built his career on, he now sees in Stevenson. And it's not just about what Shakur does technically. Floyd keeps coming back to his presence. He talks about his aura, that boyish, clean-cut look outside the ring that makes him easy to market. Then how everything changes when the bell rings and he turns ruthless. To Floyd, that combination, approachable image, cold-blooded execution, is exactly what fills arenas and sells pay-per-views. He's even said he'd love to get Shakur under his promotional banner and believes he could take him to another level. Max Kellerman and Stephen A. don't see it that simply. Kellerman respects Shakur's craft, but he's quick to point out that Shakur isn't a natural big man in this division. He's moving up, not down. He isn't known as some wrecking ball puncher. To Max, that matters. He keeps calling him the smaller guy going up in weight and says flatly, this isn't a guy stopping everybody he touches at 140. When he switches to talking about Teofimo, his tone changes. He calls Lopez the more exciting fighter. Why? Because Teo's style is built on risk. He's explosive. He never seems truly safe in there, for himself or his opponent. He's got fast twitch, serious power, and he comes forward aggressively enough that he leaves openings. Max's point is simple. When a fighter can hurt you and can be hurt, the drama level is always high. You're never fully relaxed watching Teo. You always feel like the fight can flip suddenly. Stephen A. has planted his flag even more firmly on that side. When he thinks about who he wants to watch, who gives him that Mike Tyson vibe of danger and knockout threat, he says he leans Teofimo. He keeps going back to that Lomachenko fight. He saw Lopez box smart, show angles, show defense, then walk Loma down late and close the show. He liked the way Teo stalked, the power in both hands, the mentality of coming for the finish. So when Floyd says Shakur is the most skillful, Stephen A. doesn't really argue that. What he pushes back on is the idea that skill alone should automatically put Shakur above Lopez, in terms of who fans are drawn to watch. For Stephen A., the excitement Teo brings, the feeling that anything can happen with one shot, puts him ahead. Kellerman even asked Floyd directly why he thinks Shakur has connected with crowds as fast as he has. He pointed out that it's not easy to draw real fans in this era. People are picky about what they pay for, yet Shakur already gets announced at NFL games and gets big reactions. He's already headlining at a high level. Floyd's answer was simple. He's got that intangible. People like how he looks, how he carries himself. He has a mainstream-friendly image, but once the bell rings, he turns into a killer. And that's what people pay to see, someone who can dissect opponents and make it look easy. On the other side of the ropes, both fighters have been talking too, and they're not shying away from the magnitude of this matchup. Teofimo Lopez went on Kellerman's show and made it clear he's not just willing to fight Shakur, he's hungry for it. He said he has all the tools needed to beat Shakur, that this kind of fight is exactly what boxing needs, and that it's the kind of big, legacy-shaping night he lives for. He loves the style clash, his pressure, power, and willingness to mix it up against Shakur's slick defense, sharp counters, and control. He openly acknowledges what people say about the matchup. They call Shakur high-tech, the guy with the tricky moves and slick schooling. Teo's response is straightforward. I bring it to you. I bring the fight. He fully intends to force Shakur to fight at his pace, not sit back and box in comfort. Lopez is also keenly aware of what this means for his standing at 140. He's the Ring Magazine champion at junior welterweight. Shakur is widely viewed as the top guy at 135, even though that title is vacant in the Ring rankings. Teo sees this fight as something he can compare to his win over Lomachenko, another night where he beats a highly rated technician and stamps his name deeper into the sport's history. At the same time, he's careful with his own mindset. He says he's not chasing a knockout, because chasing it can make you tight and reckless. He wants the stoppage if it's there, but his message is clear. He's going to let his skills and his timing do the talking. Keep the belts, defend his position, and keep moving. Shakur Stevenson, for his part, has kept the exact same energy he always has, calm, respectful, but fully confident. In pre-fight interviews, he's actually gone out of his way to give Lopez his due. He calls Teo the truth, says he knows exactly what he's walking into, and labels Lopez a great fighter. That isn't the typical pre-fight trash talk. Shakur studies guys carefully, and he doesn't lie when he gives assessments, so when he says it, you can tell he means it. But he always follows it up with the same line, "I'm the better fighter." He believes that. He doesn't need to shout it or insult Lopez to make that point. He just says, "January 31st, we find out." Asked if he'd tell people how he plans to fight, he just smiled and shut that down. Why give your strategy away on camera? The only one who needs to find out is standing across from him on fight night. Other pros have been weighing in, and a clear trend has emerged. When boxers talk, a lot of them lean Shakur. Jaron "Boots" Ennis, one of the most talented young fighters in the sport, looked at the matchup and didn't hesitate. He called it a big fight between two top guys, but said straight up he thinks Shakur cooks Teofimo, something like 9 rounds to 3. He expects it to be competitive early while Teo is fresh and throwing with speed and power, but he believes Shakur will start breaking Teo down mentally as the rounds go on.
For Ennis, the key is distance and composure. He says Shakur has a rare understanding of where he needs to be in the ring. He makes it look like you can reach him, but you can't. And when guys start missing and paying for every mistake with a sharp counter, they start to unravel. Boots doesn't think Lopez is always the strongest mentally, so if the fight becomes a chess match instead of a brawl, he favors Shakur heavily. He also refuses to rule out a stoppage. Everyone says decision when they talk about Stevenson because of his style, but Boots reminds people that in boxing, frustration and fatigue can open up a finish late. He says the key for Shakur is to be himself. Don't fight to please the crowd, don't listen to critics calling him boring. Just keep it simple, take the win, and go home safe. Regis Progress, a former world champion at 140, echoed a lot of that analysis. He knows both guys and respects them, but he's firmly in the Shakur camp too. He praises Lopez as an explosive athlete who shines in big fights, pointing to the wins over Lomachenko and Josh Taylor. Regis is not blind to Teo's ability. He calls him nice in there and very dangerous, but he circles back to the same question he's been asking for years: which Teofimo shows up? Because for every big night performance, there are other fights, Kambosos, Sandor Martin, Claggett, where he looked off, frustrated, or lost. Regis thinks Shakur has a big advantage in consistency and mental strength. He can stay locked in for 12 rounds without giving away free opportunities. Lopez, he says, tends to struggle when his plan A doesn't work and the big shots don't land. In his mind, Stevenson can wear Teo down simply by not giving him those clean, satisfying moments he feeds off. At the same time, Progress warns that the punches you don't see are the ones that get you. Lopez is athletic enough and unpredictable enough to throw something from an odd angle that sneaks through Shakur's guard. He doesn't rule out a knockout at all, especially early, but if the fight goes into a rhythm, he expects Shakur to pull away. On the nuts and bolts side, no one has broken down Shakur's style better than Malik Scott. He calls Stevenson's southpaw jab one of the best in boxing. He explains how most fighters have a little rhythmic rock before they launch offense, a tell that they're about to commit, and Shakur reads that bounce like a book. The moment they shift weight forward, he stings them with a fast, precise jab that stops their momentum cold. From a southpaw stance, that's a nightmare if you're an orthodox fighter with your lead hand lazy or low. Malik pulled up Teo's fight with Jermaine Ortiz to show exactly that problem. Lopez often comes in with his lead hand down against lefties, trying to use head movement and reflexes. Against someone like Shakur, Scott calls that a tragedy. It means walking straight into the best shot Stevenson has, over and over. In his view, if Lopez doesn't tighten that up, he's going to be eating that jab all night. And once Shakur finds that timing, everything else, counters, angles, lead hooks, starts coming behind it. All of this is why some in the boxing world are calling this a thinking man's fight. They believe it's going to be all about small margins, one mistake here, one moment there. Some critics worry that Shakur's patient, low-output style could make the bout less of a wild brawl and more of a chess match. They point out that Stevenson is a master of hit and don't get hit, and that while purists love it, casual fans don't always find that visually thrilling. Others argue that Teofimo's presence guarantees drama. He doesn't like to sit back, he likes to bring chaos. He believes his aggression will drag Shakur into more exchanges than usual and force some risk. Somewhere in the middle sits the truth. On paper, this is one of the most interesting style clashes in years. The calm, composed technician against the volatile, heavy-handed athlete. The defensive genius against the explosive risk-taker. One guy trusted by fighters and purists. The other loved by fans who want knockouts, danger, and swagger. Teofimo knows how important this is. Ring champion at 140 versus the man most people see as the top lightweight, this is the kind of matchup that gets remembered in highlight packages for decades if it lives up to its potential. Teo himself has compared it to the scale of his Lomachenko win, another night where he stepped in as the underdog in many eyes and walked out with all the momentum. He also admits the only way to handle that kind of moment is to shut the noise out, the media hype, the pound-for-pound debates, the think pieces about his mental state. He's trying to push all of that away and narrow his world down to one thing, what he does when the bell rings. Shakur seems to already live in that space. He isn't interested in disparaging Lopez to sell the fight. He doesn't overtalk game plans. He just keeps repeating the same calm line. He's a great fighter, I'm better, we'll prove it. So now it's on the rest of us. Do you side with the defensive genius or the explosive puncher? Do you take Floyd's view that skill and control win out? Or do you agree with Stephen A. and Kellerman that Lopez's danger and his performances in big nights make him the better pick? However you see it, this is the kind of fight boxing has been waiting for. Real talent on both sides, real stakes, real disagreement about who wins and why. Drop your prediction in the comments. Who do you think walks out with their hand raised, and how?